All right, we're back for another edition of Raw or SmackDown. Richie, what is the concept?
Concept is if these stars had to retire tomorrow, we had to hang a jersey on the rafters. Will it be a Raw jersey or a SmackDown jersey? And here we are trying to figure out what these designated brands are to these superstars that we're spinning on the wheel today.
Well, luckily, up third here, for us anyways, is Marcus. Marcus, were you more of a Raw guy or a SmackDown guy? I'm a Raw guy. Richie's a SmackDown guy. What were you?
Raw had the early advantage just with the start time of Raw going back to 1993. But I'm a tried and true blue teamer. Throw me on that SmackDown team, man.
I'm just saying, 3-0 here.
I don't know what it is about SmackDown, but man, SmackDown's my show. I'm Team Blue Brand all the way.
You know something? I hope we get 3 Raw guys. Let's see what we're going to get.
Are you trying to make a War Games or Survivor Series team like they did back in the day?
I'm losing if so.
Oh, my guy.
Ooh, there we go.
Awesome one. Marcus, you are 3 for 3 with guys on this wheel, in my opinion. All right, I am here to show the world my gut reaction that Dolph Ziggler is a Raw guy. Richie.
I'd say he's probably a Raw guy.
Marcus?
You know, DZ's my fave 5-man over on SmackDown.
Shucky ducky quack quack.
That's right.
I smell you stepping in with that fave 5.
Oh, man.
All right, let's look at the stats. I think we thought Monday Night Raw best year was 2012. McIntyre tag team in 2018. The Money in the Bank cash in 2013 versus Alberto Del Rio. The U.S. title run in 2011. The feud with CM Punk in 2011. And his Seth Rollins feud in 2018 were the Raw highlights.
And on the SmackDown highlights, we put 2016 as his definitive year. The feud with Edge in 2009 going into 2010. The feud with The Miz in 2016 going on 2017. The six-pack challenge win on that first inaugural brand separation of SmackDown where he won the #1 contendership to face Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam. The Vicky Guerrero pairing, which was probably a turning point in his career. And the feud with Otis in 2020. And honorable mention there, his feud with MVP over Sherry Shepherd.
328 Monday Night Raw matches, 309 SmackDown matches, 51.5% on Raw, 48.5% on SmackDown. Marcus, those stats, that's a lot of TV matches, and it's that close is incredible. After taking in all of this DZ stats, your fave 5 stats from each brand, what are you thinking?
It's a lot closer than I even thought. You know, I know he's a guy, he's eaten up a lot of TV time during the last decade, but to see the 328 to 309, the 51-48 split, that's insane. I mean,
it is
virtually even. But to me, I think of the 09 run where it was like him and Morrison and Rey Mysterio and McIntyre all kind of working each other for the Intercontinental title. That really stands out for me. Got the great stuff with Edge that's up there. And then, you know, the area I want to highlight is that 2016 run with the second go of the brand split where he's letting his hair get a little bit darker and he's wearing the zip-up hoodie. And not that he's not flashy because he is just such a charismatic performer, but they're tapping into more of his background with the amateur wrestling. And making him, you know, a legit threat. And he does have that match with Ambrose at SummerSlam. And all that adds up to the Miz match at No Mercy, which I think they caught lightning in a bottle that night. I haven't rewatched it, but if I going off the top of my head, it's probably flirting with 5. I just thought that they had such emotion in that match. They had the crowd in the palm of their hand. And all that is due to him being re-energized on SmackDown. So that's the run that sticks out for me.
And that was a retirement or title match, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, that was good shit. That was good shit. All right. So when I kind of looked at this and I thought it was so close in my head and I had to have a gut reaction and I didn't have one, I did the close the eyes gimmick and I saw him cash in with Del Rio. And that was a Monday Night Raw thing. And it's a career highlight. It's a top 3 Money in the Bank cash in on anyone's list. So that's kind of why I went with it. Now, this is how I'm going to kind of decipher it. The feud with Edge in 09 and the feud with Punk in 11. I'm just going to call it a wash. Right. The Otis feud, there's nothing like touches that from the Raw side over here. Everything's kind of above it, in my opinion. The 6-pack challenge win, I don't really recall that, Richie. Like, I get it, but whatever, right? He did the pairing with Vicky Guerrero. Yeah, I think it's more SmackDown, but it was also a little bit of Raw. But there's nothing to take. His best feud may be that Miz feud in 16. It might be his best match, like Marcus alluded to. And honestly, he kind of woken up a dead Miz. The Miz was dead since 2011, right? Maybe he was swimming in mediocrity and mid-cardness and whatever. And they're Cleveland boys, they're backstage friends. And they really just kind of went into each other and made it super personal. And it was like a first real feud where Ziggler was a babyface, because we had the babyface turn when he won the world title and then the double flip with Del Rio. But then he got concussed, and then they never really used him as a babyface again. So they kind of used him in that 2016 role as a babyface. And it was very compelling and interesting to show the upside that he could have had on Monday Night Raw in 2013 when he won the title, because he was over like Rover when they cashed in. It really, really worked. It was something big. It was coming off the Big E and AJ pairing. It was just, it was set up for him, and the landscape was like super good to go with him. That concussion is kind of haunting a little bit, but what also was a staple for me kind of in 2000 for Monday Night Raw is 2018. I really dug the Ziggler and McIntyre team. They had some great matches with the Shield guys. They had really good matches with the Revival guys. Gable and Brood, they had really good matches. It's a really underrated era for those guys to go out there and have a great tag team run. And of course, it led to a feud between the two. It was a flash feud, but it was important. It really propelled McIntyre and reintroduced them to the WWE universe in the landscape of WWE. And look where he went a year later to kind of win the world title from Brock Lesnar, right? So Ziggler was a very important proponent to Monday Night Raw in 2018, but that was coming off the SmackDown run in 2016-17. So this is pretty thin, Richie. I could babble all night, but I feel that it's still Raw, and I'm just using the Del Rio cash-in as the defining moment, really.
It's
Even though
pretty
his best
tough.
feud is probably the Miz. But the Rollins stuff with the McIntyres is a close second.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Richie.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because it's like all the Ziggler matches that went out of my mind, it would always alternate Raw, SmackDown. Going Raw, he had an excellent series with Randy Orton for a time. You go to SmackDown, I still remember that triple threat elimination match with Kid and Cesaro, which was really good, and they weren't doing that at the time. Having just a random elimination match for a championship on television, you just kind of unheard of. And then, like, I feel like one of his definitive storylines with the Miz on SmackDown was the Authority storyline, where he became an integral part of that build to Survivor Series. But that was during the time when Raw and SmackDown were just kind of just like intermingled, so to speak, where SmackDown essentially became like the Raw recap show for a long period of time before they decided to make it another brand again. And I feel like a lot of moments did happen on Raw in comparison to SmackDown. His first championship win was on SmackDown. And then if you want to go on the flip side, he won the world title, the tag title, the US title, the Raw tag titles, the Intercontinental Championship multiple times on Raw. So if you want to go based on accomplishments, Ziggler would probably be more associated with Raw. If you want to go based more on moments, probably SmackDown would probably be where he would reside. But in terms of just like what his feeling is, it's like I initially said Raw. Like I feel like, again, like just like the graph, it just seems like dead even. You know, it just seems like he's like a perfect fusion of a Raw and SmackDown guy, and he was in every single possible position on each show, because he was in the main event for a little bit on each show. He was in the middle card on each show that made something out of nothing. IC title feud where he was on opposite ends of the spectrum. Babyface with Miz, heel with Seth Rollins, and yeah, tag teams. Drew McIntyre, Dirty Dogs. You got all those kind of like things where he's like the ultimate utility player, and that's what made him so good. But again, going with my gut, like as much as I want to say SmackDown, I think Raw is where he resides.
All right, Marcus, any last push? Richie's on the fence. I think after kind of digesting the stats, I'm going to go with my gut and produce Raw vote. But if you're going to stick SmackDown, you can have one more rebuttal. See if you can sway Richie.
All right. I'm the moment, I believe it's Clay Matthews coming out and helping Edge win back the world title. I think
wild pull.
Anything
pull.
for the blue brand. We've talked a lot about the cash in on Raw, but those were two SmackDown guys, and that was the World Heavyweight title, which was the World Championship with SmackDown at the time. Again, SmackDown makes, Raw takes. Raw needed the big moment, but that happened with SmackDown dude. The double turn match with Del Rio at, I forget which summer pay-per-view that was.
Payback.
Payback, yes, thank you. Payback. They are SmackDown. So for me, it is really close. It's again a lot closer than I would ever thought. But I'm gonna go with SmackDown.
Just to give a little love to the Otis feud. I kind of shat on it a little bit off the rip, but
yeah, come on, what did Otis do to you?
It was fun. It was like a new era of SmackDown, the whole Mandy Rose thing, and then they had the cyber guy who was the revealer or whatever. It was a cute,
the SmackDown hacker, yeah.
It was on the Valentine's Day SmackDown 2 where they won on the date. It was a really fun feud, and it was his first and ever only singles match at WrestleMania,
and in front of no people too, which was
they really wanted to go with Otis for some reason, and they relied on Ziggler. It's just I'm just brought it up to kind of give Ziggler his flowers of the ultimate utility guy, but there's no such thing as SmackDown after WrestleMania without Raw after WrestleMania, and that's built off moments, and it's the ultimate moment with him cashing in, even though he's a SmackDown guy. I'm sticking with Raw, Richie. Richie, volley to you.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Raw just because like a lot of the moments that Ziggler was given, he was not only on SmackDown but on Raw. It seemed like that era in 2012 to 2013, he was on all the shows if he wasn't injured, and it just seemed like Raw would play off of SmackDown and vice versa. If he was in a feud with Randy and John, like all the important stuff would happen on Raw, but then on SmackDown, Ziggler would have a match. Just to kind of build his feud and build his win-loss record going into those stories. And I feel like another thing that's pivotal for Raw, that U.S. title run was also very groundbreaking in the sense because it featured the Zack Ryder feud, where they used online and social media when WWE was not using it at that time to promote their match that the crowd was invested in, but they had minimal buildup on television, but they used the internet to kind of parlay that U.S. Championship match into something somebody wanted to see. So similar to Becky Lynch using the opportunities given on SmackDown, they would take the bare minimum of Raw and then expand upon those stories on their off time. So they were being creative with the U.S. Championship, which at the time, it was a running joke that the U.S. and the IC titles would be just carried by guys to lose to Randy Orton and Sheamus. And they would not get title matches because they're Randy Orton and Sheamus. They're up here. US and IC are down here in the eyes of WWE. So I think Dolph, even though his SmackDown resume is wonderful, I really do love the Miz feud. I think they kind of like went a little overboard past No Mercy, where it's like Dolph held it for a little bit and then they just did the ladder match. It just kind of felt like overkill for a little bit. But overall, I think Raw is pretty, just like Dolph Ziggler, is a pretty underrated run for Dolph Ziggler. And a lot of people wouldn't point to it, seeing as Dolph Ziggler doesn't scream Monday Night Raw, but his resume kind of speaks for itself.
All right, Marcus, we're going to go queen sleep, or are you going to stay to your gut here and just go with the blue brand all day?
Hey, blue brand all day. I'm going down with the ship.
It's honestly similar to Eddie. It was fun to talk about Ziggler for the last 15 minutes, right? It's and that's kind of just the goal with this whole project. So Ziggler, Monday Night Raw. I wonder if people are going to kind of agree with us or not on that one. That was another one like Becky, where it was a little back and forth and uncertainty. So
Similar charts too.
yeah, no doubt. So you hear it here first, guys. Monday Night Raw for Dolph Ziggler.